a problem at the airport. John was excited. He was going on his first international trip to Japan for a business meeting. He packed everything he thought he might need, a few gifts for his new colleagues, his laptop, and his favorite coffee beans. He even packed his lucky keychain, which was a tiny, funny-looking souvenir from his grandmother. When John arrived at the airport, everything went smoothly until he reached customs. He placed his bags on the conveyor belt and walked through the metal detector. Suddenly, the alarm went off and the customs officer called him over. "Sir, could you step aside, please?" the officer said, pointing to John's bag. Confused, John nodded and watched as the officer began to open his suitcase. The officer pulled out a small jar. "What's this, sir?" the officer asked, holding up John's coffee beans. "Oh, those are just coffee beans. I like to have fresh coffee, so I brought my own," John explained with a smile. The officer looked carefully at the jar. "Unfortunately, you'll have to leave these behind. We have strict rules about bringing organic items into the country." John sighed, disappointed, but nodded in agreement. He didn't want to argue and risk missing his flight. Then, the officer found John's gift items for his colleagues. "These small knives, are they gifts?" the officer asked. "Yes, they are," John replied. "They are traditional pocket knives from my hometown." The officer shook his head. "I'm afraid these can't go through either. They are considered sharp objects and could be dangerous." John was surprised. He hadn't thought about that at all. "I understand," he said, feeling a bit embarrassed. Finally, just as he thought everything was fine, the officer pulled out the tiny keychain from his bag. The officer looked at it, puzzled. "What's this strange item?" John laughed a little. "Oh, that's my lucky charm. My grandmother gave it to me." The officer inspected it carefully, then finally handed it back. "All right, this one is fine," he said with a slight smile. With a sigh of relief, John took his bag, thanked the officer, and hurried toward his gate. Though he had to leave behind a few items, he was still excited for the trip ahead. It was certainly a lesson in what not to pack for international travel.